In Pit Lane. Proudly brought to you by the Australian Sports Sedan Association, presenting the Grunt Performance Victorian Sports Sedan Championship, and with thanks to Slipstream Race Graphics. Where are we? We're on camera 3. There we are over there. Hello, camera 3. Welcome to another edition of In Pit Lane, coming to you live from the studios of RMATV Student Television, across YouTube, Facebook Live, and of course, unless you're watching us on Thursday night on Channel 31, right across Melbourne and free to air. Yes, coming up this weekend, well, it's the big one everyone's talking about, the grand final, and we'll certainly be down there. We'll be giving you all of the big preview this week on In Pit Lane as we go down to Phillip Island for the grand final of the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championships this weekend, and the feature of course is round 4 of the Grunt Performance Victorian Sports Sedan Championship. Joining us a little bit later on in the program will be a man who was one of the stalwarts of the Victorian Championship, and also a veteran of the Calder Park Thunderdome back in the days. In fact, a 3-time champion at the Thunderdome. That's the Graeme Gilliland. Also, coming up a little bit later on the program, we've got music from Paul Andrew Kerry as well. He'll be joining us a little bit later on in the program. But before we start, I've got to say a very big hello and send our best wishes to our guest from last week on the show, Matt Cerny, because you may remember Matt was racing at Mildura on the weekend. Well, unfortunately, he had a massive accident on the weekend. Thankfully, he's not badly injured, but the car is a write-off. But he's pretty knocked about. And Matt, sorry to hear about that. That's not the story we wanted to report from Mildura this weekend. But glad to see that you're up and about, and hopefully you'll be back on your feet and back behind the wheel very, very, very soon. But look, it hasn't been a huge weekend of motorsport, but let's talk about what we did find in the In Pit Lane motorsport news. Well, the momentum's growing for the planned new TCR Touring Car Series in 2019 with the addition to the field of 2 Hyundai i30s. The 2 cars will be run by the newly created HMO Racing Stable, headed by Dave Cameron and Barry Morecambe. The new group will also act as the exclusive sales partners for Hyundai Motorsport here in Australia. The cars are expected to arrive in Australia in November, with Cameron hoping to have as many as 8 cars in the country for the series, which is hoping to start late next year. The series will be run by the Australian Racing Group, who also hold the rights for the new S5000 open-wheeler category. And there's more new cars on the way, with Porsche announcing an increase in the number of Carrera Cup cars available to race down under. The addition of 6 new 911 GT3 Cup cars will boost the number of eligible cars for the championship to 32. 5 of the 6 new cars have already been sold, with sports car driver Dave Stevens said to be the first to debut one of the new cars. And the Queensland-based TA2 series is also expanding, having just sold their 25th car. The class for tube-framed American muscle cars is used in a variety of categories around the world, including, of course, the Trans Am Series in America, the Costa Rican Touring Car Championship, the V8 Thunder cars in Scandinavia, the Danish Thundersport Championship, Trans Am Euro Racing, and a rapidly growing Asian-based TA2 series from Thailand. Another 8 cars have been ordered, with category organisers hoping for fields of over 30 for next year's championship series. Well, with the winding down of the Northern Hemisphere summer, things are starting to quieten down a little overseas, but there's still some chapters left unread, and to find out who done it and how, we present this week's International Wrap. Renault Rast has kept his DTM Championships hope alive with his 4th consecutive victory, this time at the Spielberg circuit in Austria. The Audi driver started 8th on the grid but stormed through the field to take the lead after the compulsory pit stops. Fellow Audi driver Nico Müller followed Rast home ahead of Mercedes driver Gary Paffett. Rast is now third in the championship behind Paul de Resta and Paffett, with only the final race remaining in October. A last-minute call-up has seen Australian driver Scott Andrews take out his maiden European Le Mans Series race with a win in the rain-shortened 4 hours of Spa. Andrews was called in to replace regular driver Sean Rahal, who was too ill to travel from his home in the United States. Andrews and co-driver John Falb won the LMP3 class. Their LMP2 teammates Felipe Albuquerque and Phil Hansen won the race outright after the red flag came out with 90 minutes remaining on the clock.
You couldn't ask for anything better on your debut. That's awesome. Just a huge thanks to the team. They gave me the car to do it. Gary, the engineer, awesome strategy. And, I was able to dodge everything and drive to the front. And, that was, I don't have any words. That's awesome. And just thanks to John for having me on board. And, I wish Sean could be here, but, this is pretty sweet.
Marc Marquez has strengthened his lead in the 2018 MotoGP title chase with victory in the Aragon Grand Prix. Marquez held off the Ducati of Andrea Dovizioso with Suzuki rider Andrea Renoni in third. It was a disastrous start for pole sitter Jorge Lorenzo, who crashed out of contention on the first lap of the race. Australia's Jack Miller finished back in 9th place, just behind Valentino Rossi. New Zealand driver Mitch Evans is once again behind the wheel of the Works Jaguar Formula E car. The new Gen 2 version of the all-electric racer now features more power and a greater range than before, meaning the often comical mid-race car swap will no longer be a feature. Under the new series rules, Jaguar have developed the entire powertrain in-house, including the motor generation unit, the transmission, cooling system, suspension, motor control unit, and the silicon carbide module inverter. The advanced MGU revs in excess of 30,000 RPM, more than double the rate of a 2018 Formula 1 car. The new powertrain's 25% more powerful and produces up to 250 kilowatts in a car with a minimum weight of 900 kilograms. The opening round of the 2018-19 Formula E Championship kicks off in December in Saudi Arabia. A great drive from the rear of the field has booked a place for Kyle Busch in the second round of the NASCAR Cup playoffs. Busch was forced to start from the rear of the grid after his team had to work on his car after damage during qualifying. They obviously did one hell of a job as the Toyota driver surged through the field to take the win. Kevin Harvick finished second ahead of Martin Truex Jr., who recovered from a mid-race penalty for an uncontrolled tyre in the pits. Steve Torrence has won his second consecutive Top Fuel final at the NHRA Midwest Nationals. Coming off his last round victory, Torrence beat Clay Millican in the final to take a 70-point championship lead over Millican. A spectacular win to Robert Hight as he beat Tim Wilkerson in the funny car final. Hight suffered a massive engine explosion as he crossed the finish line, but he walked away from what was left of his car without any major injury. Tanner Gray grabbed his 6th victory of the season in his Camaro, beating Drew Skillman to extend his points lead in the Pro Stock Championship. And in Pro Stock Motorcycle, Matt Smith earned his 2nd victory of 2018 with a whole-shot win over Elie Tonglé. You're watching In Pit Lane. We're going to go for a break now on Channel 31, but when we come back, we're going to be joined by our special guest, Graeme Gilliland. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Okay, and for those of you watching us live on Facebook and on YouTube, on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel, it's good to have you once again. Remember, if you haven't subscribed or liked on the YouTube channel, please do that. And use the bell. Make sure you use the bell, because what's happened is YouTube have changed the way that they handle their notifications now because of all of the European Union stuff. So you have to specifically ask to be notified, which probably makes a lot of sense, but a lot of people forget that. So if you want to find out what's coming up, both in terms of live shows here and stuff we do on location at the tracks and other special events coming up, then make sure you subscribe to the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. And also, for those of you watching on Facebook, Facebook is great. We like Facebook, but it's a little uncertain at the moment in terms of what's happening with video. So just, we were just letting you know, probably the safest thing is to go to the YouTube channel at some stage. Of course, unless you're in Melbourne or Geelong, in which case you can watch on Thursday night at 8:30, and I hope you will do that. Now, we've got to say thank you once again to our sponsors and our friends at the Australian Sports Sedan Association. And as we said, coming up this weekend, it's round 4 of the Grunt Performance Victorian Sports Sedan Championship at the spectacular Phillip Island circuit. The race will see the return to local competition of National Championship competitor Michael Robinson in his thundering big Monaro, and he'll take on series leader Rick Newman's Falcon, Chaz Talbot in the Camaro, Paul Panesi and Terry Hamilton in Commodores, and of course the Rotary Brigade led by Bruce Henley and tonight's guest on In Pit Lane, Graeme Gilliland. Also on the card is the grand final of the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championships, including the Hyundai XL Nationals and the National Formula Ford Series. It'll be 2 huge days of racing at Australia's most spectacular circuit, so why not head down there and enjoy an affordable weekend of great local motorsport. Take the family. I think kids under 15 of them get in for nothing, so take them down, you'll have a great time. The Grunt Performance Victorian Sports Sedan Championships round 4 this weekend at Phillip Island, and once again In Pit Lane and RMI TV Student Television would like to say a very special thank you to the Australian Sports Sedan Association of Victoria for their continuing support of In Pit Lane. Now we're just about ready to go back to Channel 31 now, if I get the go-ahead from Pete. How are we going on time and everything, Pete? We're 1 minute over. Okay, I will talk faster and do all sorts of things.
30 seconds.
Okay. Coming back on 3?
Coming back on 3.
We're coming back on 3.
20 seconds.
That makes 2 of us.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Welcome back to In Pit Lane, coming to you live right across Melbourne to Geelong on Channel 31. Well, no, we're not live on Channel 31. We're in fact live, but recorded. Like you know what it was. We're here. Now, coming up this weekend is round 4 of the Victorian Sports Sedan Championship down at Phillip Island as part of the grand final of the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championship. And our guest tonight is one of the stalwarts of the Sports Sedan category. His Mazda RX7 is a top 5, top 10 finisher in virtually every single race that you will find. And you can be pretty much guaranteed that no matter what happens with anybody else or what's happening in society and the economics and all the rest of it, you know this guy is probably going to be down there. He started in the days, of course, of the Calder Park Thunderdome, where he was a 3-time champion in the sportsman division. And we'll ask him about that in just a moment. Please welcome to In Pit Lane, Graeme Gilliland. Graeme, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Brett. And thanks to the viewers.
Now, let's start at the Calder Park Thunderdome. Tell us, what are your memories of Calder Park and the Thunderdome?
It was better racing than what we're doing now. It was very intense. It was a really good time of life. Yeah.
So how did you get involved in that?
My wife actually got me tangled up in it.
Right, she's the one who's going to be blamed.
Yes. We just went out there one day. She actually organised a truck show out there when they run the tracks on the dome.
Yes.
And she was the prime mover of all that. And I just said to her, I wouldn't mind having a go at one of these. And it just went on from there. And yeah, it was great motor race, and it suited the way I drive, which I still drive a little bit the same way, as my competitors will know.
So what went wrong out there? I mean, they seemed to be ahead of their time in a way, but it was so popular, huge fields, huge crowds, and then it just slowly dwindled away.
Well, I sort of put it down a little bit to Bob. Actually threw a lot of money out of it straight away, and then as years went along, he wanted us to finance ourselves, which really wasn't a problem. I had no problem getting sponsors. You could go to any mechanical shop, anything, a paint shop, anything like that, and you could always get $100 here, $100 there to actually pay your way. And he put less money into advertising, and it both went the same way. Less advertised, less crowd, less advertised, and no advertising. TV
That's
dropped off.
one of the things people do forget about Calder Park and the Thunderdome was, back in the day, the advertising, I think they were going through George Patterson, or one of the major advertising companies. The advertising for that was at a level that we just haven't seen in Australia before or since.
That's correct. And while he was putting it, obviously he was putting a lot of money into it, but well, we always got our entry fee back. So if you started the race, you got your entry fee back. And then from then on, I think they paid back to about 10th or 15th.
Yes, I think we saw at one stage somebody from finishing, 20th in an HQ race, you could get $1,000 or something.
Yeah, it was very good money, very good money. But you tore up a few cars, and I had done a fair bit of that.
So when the Thunderdome eventually closed, how did you get involved in sports sedans?
A guy Ronnie Newband, he just passed away this year. He actually he was a good mentor to me. And another guy who raced sports sedans, Graeme Smith. He was another guy who taught me a lot about how to motor race, how to approach it, how to you had to have a car moving around underneath you. It taught me a lot. I learned a lot from them. And he was involved in sports sedans, and I said, I might buy a sports sedan. And he said, well, you better buy a body case as you won't be able to handle a space frame car. So we got Andy Brown's improved production car, which won the championship that year. And he actually helped me pull it apart, put it back together again, so I actually knew how the car ticked. And we just raced on from there. And and then Paul from P&L Mechanical, he's raced with me the whole time. He hasn't missed a race meeting since 1991. He's just fantastic, and his family. Michael looks after our computer in our car now. I'm pretty lucky. And of course Annie, she pays all the bills and she does everything for me.
Well, of course, your current car is the Mazda RX7. So tell us about that. We see it there all the time. It'll be in action again on the weekend. Tell us about the car, what you've done to it, and what sort of car is it?
Well, it's a space frame car now. It's got a 13B naturally aspirated, fuel injected peripheral port. John Perkins actually builds the engines for me. He's wonderful. He's pretty enthusiastic about how we race. It's got a sequential Hollinger in it, a dog box with a sequential shifter on it, Toyota diff in it, good tyres. Stucky's actually selling me tyres. He's another man that I stick with as well. I have some really good friends, good mates in motor racing.
Well, we might get back onto that in just a moment, but before we move on to another break, the forecast for this weekend down at Phillip Island is wet, and when that was raised before, a big smile came to your face. Yeah. You would be happy with that?
I love it in the rain. It actually, we don't have enough horsepower to get myself into trouble, but I'll have a go in the rain. I'll have fair dinkum go at it, and I'm doing a bit of a rain dance so Michael Robinson will slow up for me.
Well, stay with us. We'll talk to you in just a moment. But right now, Graeme Gilliland, thanks for joining us. And we're going to take a break right now. But when we come back, we'll have more with Graeme Gilliland and also music from our guest tonight, our musical guest tonight, Paul Andrew Carey. That's when In Pit Lane returns right after this break. Okay, well, we'll let Paul set up there at the music position, and while he gets into position, I'll just let you know, if you're watching the program via YouTube or Facebook, just to remind you, In Pit Lane's been a part of the Melbourne motorsport landscape for almost 23 years now. We've covered everything from hill climbs and club sprints all the way through to the world's greatest race, the Le Mans 24 Hours, events like the Macau Grand Prix. We've even been to Inner Mongolia. In our In Pit Lane viewers, whether they're on Channel 31 in Melbourne and increasingly online, are hardcore motorsport people. They're racers, they're engineers, officials, hardcore enthusiasts, each and every one of them. So it makes sense, if you've got a product or a service that might be of interest to those people, why not talk to us here at In Pit Lane about how we can assist you in getting your message out there. Studies over many, many years have shown that the great power of television and online video to communicate your message. So, whether you grind cams or coffee, build engines, sell suspension or safety gear, lay up carbon fibre or build trailers, just anything at all, why not contact us here at In Pit Lane to see how we can help you to promote your business. Just send us an email at advertise@inpitlane.com. Well, our musical guest tonight is Melbourne singer-songwriter Paul Andrew Carey, and he's going to play a song for us now. We'll give you all the details a little bit later on when we come back for 31, but he's got a bonus song for us right now, and he's going to play for his first song, Back Road to Lawrence. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Andrew Carey.
Thank you. There was a car rolled over on the back road to Lawrence after midnight. I was driving home from work, it was late shift at the Junction Mill. It was all dented and the windshield was gone. No engine running, but the headlights, they was on. It was a car rolled over on the back road to Lawrence after midnight. Under a million stars and a cool soft mist that was rising like ghosts who was hungry for life and lust. Well, I slowed down for a corner, and that's when I seen the time marks go into the trees. So I pulled over and I wound the window down. I turned it off, I swear I couldn't hear a sound. It was a car rolled over on the back road to Lawrence. No engine running, but the headlights were on. Oh, I was young once and I met her at a hotel on the Main. We had about 2 good years. We was raising a baby in a plank weatherboard, and we just started drinking and fighting, and every day became the same. And I heard her yell something, but I couldn't hear it over the baby. And that's when she grabbed those keys, and that old valiant of ours headed out into the rain. You know, it's funny what you keep held down. You don't know how to be feeling. I've seen it hide like a killer under my house with a knife. So I get out of my car and I run over to the door that is smashed open. It was all dented and the windshield was gone. No engine running, but the headlights, they was on. She was 20, 21, no more. There was a beer bottle. Yeah, beer bottle falling from the door.
Paul Andrew Carey and Back Road to Lawrence. And Paul will be joining us a little bit later on in the program, and we'll tell you if you're interested in songwriting. For instance, if you're a would-be songwriter, we'll have some information that might interest you from Paul a little bit later on when we go back to Channel 31, which we're about ready to do. Peter, how long do we have for our third segment?
4 minutes, 30 seconds.
Apart from the song. Okay, okay, we've got 4 minutes and the song. Okay, cool. Okay, when you're ready, Pete.
4 minutes 30. Coming in on camera 3. Yes, please. 30 seconds.
Welcome back to In Pit Lane here on Channel 31 Melbourne and Geelong, and for those of you watching live on YouTube and Facebook. Well, our guest tonight is Graeme Gilliland, and we'll have some music in just a moment from Paul Andrew Carey. But Graeme, we've been talking about grand finals this weekend down at Phillip Island. There is, I believe, I'm told there's another grand final coming up this weekend, and I suppose we won't ignore it completely because it seems to be obsessing everybody at the moment. Do you have any tips for us?
Yeah, I have a tip, but I have my own thoughts on that. But anyway, the whole crew barrack for Collingwood, so I best go for Collingwood, I reckon, or otherwise I might be pushing the car around.
So how's that going to be on the weekend? I mean, sort of, you'll have your first race on Saturday, probably around the time that after the ball has been bounced. So we're all in the same boat at the moment. As the Collingwood, we'll have one eye out looking at what's happening on the track, but I imagine we'll have something in our ear or something talking about looking at the game.
Paul's already organised the TV to be down there, and I said to him, are we going to start the race with, are we going to be right with that? And he said, yeah, no, we'll be right. Yeah, he's got a plan. He's got a plan. I don't know whether I'm involved in it, but he's got a plan.
Well, at least I know where the TV's going to be. So as soon as I finish doing what I need to do, I can get down there and watch it as well. So so you said that the whole crew supported. Does that include yourself? You sort of said no. Okay.
No.
So
no, I'd rather go and watch motor racing. I'm not really that interested in football.
It's funny. There's a lot of motor racing people just have zero interest in football.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but anyway, it's for what it's worth. I mean, it was. I don't think any of us expected that Collingwood would be there. I certainly wasn't in my plans for the weekend. That's for sure. So, for what it's worth, get behind. If you're in Victoria, come on. I know it's Collingwood, but really, come on. Okay, Graeme, best of luck for the weekend. If people want to come, do you know what garage you're in at this stage?
I think we're in garage 56.
Garage 56. So if you head down to Phillip Island on the weekend, head down to Garage 56, and I'm sure Graeme would be happy to chat with you and show you around the car and all the rest of it. And good luck. Let's hope that rain comes and at least for a while gives you more of an equal level playing field.
Thank you very much, Brett. Thank you very much indeed.
For now, Graeme Gilliland, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
Thank you.
Okay, well, our musical guest tonight is Melbourne singer-songwriter Paul Andrew Carey, and Paul has some things coming up, not gigs as such. What he's got is, I think we've got this on screen somewhere, he's got fortnightly songwriter workshops coming up at the Newlands Neighbourhood House in Coburg North. Now, there's also a full-day workshop coming up on the 15th of December. So if you've ever decided that you'd like to you play around a bit and you'd like to learn a bit more in terms of how to be a songwriter, that's probably a thing to do. The details will be on his Facebook page, Paul Andrew Carey. Just search for him on Facebook. And he's got a new album coming out and is available at the end of the year. Facebook, Paul Andrew Carey Music. But right now he's going to play us out. So good luck for everybody on the weekend in all of the grand finals. We'll see you down at Phillip Island. We'll have all the news next week on the program. But right now, to play us out, here is our guest, Melbourne singer-songwriter Paul Andrew Carey with Driftwood. And from all of us here on In Pit Lane, good night.
I live out of town on my old man's farm. When he widowed my stepmother, she got some money and just split town. Well, she left me the little house, oh, the cattle and the sheds, yeah, a couple of chairs and a table, and I moved in a single bed. And it's changing me, and it makes sense that it would. It's changing me like the ocean does with driftwood. Sitting on the back step. Oh, coffee and a cigarette. This old swampland with its crows flying, and oh, our cattle fence are like a kingdom to me. But I don't have a claim. When I think of her, she's like a fading ghost in someone else's dream. Well, it's changing me, and it makes sense that it would. It's changing me like the ocean does with driftwood. Then I see the weather vane spin, and the telephone rings. Well, it's an old familiar voice that can still pull my heart strings. And she says I've missed a payment. Oh, the last month, and she won't let me see the kid until I fix it up. And then she says she has to go, and so I put on my coat for town, and on the way in the car, the tears, they won't stay down. They won't stay down. Well, it's changed.